Woodstock 1969, 500,000 people, legendary performances, and a cultural milestone. We remember Hendrix's guitar, Joplin's voice, and the sea of young faces. But there's a missing piece: Creedence Clearwater Revival, the biggest American band at the time. Headliners, who vanished from the official story. Their music was everywhere that summer, on radios, in jukeboxes, echoing across the country. Yet, in the iconic Woodstock film and soundtrack, Creedence is absent. This is the story of how a band at its peak became a ghost at the feast. Their erasure is a reminder that history is shaped by what's remembered and what's left out. The reasons are tangled: bad timing, artistic pride, and one fateful decision. Creedence's lost hour at Woodstock reveals the chaos and contradictions behind the festival's myth. What you're about to hear is one of the most overlooked stories in music history. I remember that night at Woodstock. It was cold, it was muddy, and, to be honest with you, it was a pretty rough night, but it was also something special. Hi, I'm Casey, and I was there, and today, I want to share what really happened when Creedence Clearwater Revival took the stage. But he talks about it. Let's bring their story back to center stage. To truly grasp Creedence's fate at Woodstock, you first have to step back and understand the festival itself, an event that would become legendary, not just for the music, but for the chaos and humanity that defined it. Max Yasgur's farm, a quiet patch of upstate New York, was suddenly transformed into a sprawling city of 500,000 people. Roads leading in were hopelessly jammed for miles, cars abandoned in ditches, and fences meant to keep order were quickly trampled. Tickets became meaningless. Anyone who could make it in did. The sheer scale was overwhelming, and the festival's organizers lost control almost immediately. What emerged was a free concert, whether by design or by necessity. The crowd became a living, breathing sea. Waves of people, euphoric and desperate, all swept up in the sense that they were part of something historic. Strangers became friends, sharing food, blankets, and stories. There was a sense of unity, a collective spirit that pulsed through the muddy fields. But the conditions were nothing short of punishing. Food supplies dwindled quickly, and the few toilets on site were soon overflowing, creating a stench that hung in the humid air. Then, as if on cue, the skies opened up. Torrential rain turned the fields into a swamp, soaking everything and everyone. The festival grounds became a muddy battleground, and survival became the priority. Mud was everywhere, coating boots, blankets, and bodies. People slipped and slid, some embracing the mess, others struggling to stay dry. Performers looked out at not just a crowd, but a vast, struggling encampment of people determined to endure, no matter what. The sound system, never designed for these conditions, battled the relentless rain and mud. The air was thick with exhaustion, and by Saturday night, after more than 24 hours of music, chaos, and weather, the crowd was weary, soaked to the bone, and running on pure adrenaline. People huddled under whatever shelter they could find: plastic sheets, ponchos, even newspapers, trying to fight off the cold and fatigue. Sleep was nearly impossible, and yet, the anticipation for each act kept spirits alive. Into this world of mud, exhaustion, and hope, Creedence Clearwater Revival was expected to take the stage and deliver a headline set. The stage was set for a test of willpower and endurance, not just a concert. For Creedence and the crowd alike, this was no ordinary gig. It was a night of survival, resilience, and unforgettable music against all odds. In 1969, Creedence Clearwater Revival ruled American radio. While others jammed, Creedence delivered tight, unforgettable anthems. John Fogerty's voice and songwriting made them unstoppable. In just a year, they released 3 classic albums: Bayou Country, Green River, Wheelie and the Poor Boys. Their hits, Proud Mary, Bad Moon Rising, Fortunate Son, became the soundtrack of a turbulent era. They outsold the Beatles and the Stones, the undisputed kings of American rock. Their Woodstock slot was a major coup for the festival, proof of its musical credibility. Fogerty saw it as a chance to cement their legacy. The crowd expected greatness from a band at its peak. No one knew their moment would be stolen by the clock. Creedence Clearwater Revival was scheduled for a midnight prime-time slot, an hour when the energy of Woodstock was supposed to be at its peak. The band was ready, instruments tuned, hearts pounding, eager to ignite the festival with their signature swamp rock sound. For them, this was a moment months in the making, a chance to play for hundreds of thousands under the electric glow of the stage lights. But the reality backstage was far from the dream. Woodstock's schedule had unraveled into chaos. Delays stacked upon delays. Technical issues plagued the sound system, and endless jams from earlier acts pushed everything further into the night. The festival crew scrambled in the mud, trying to keep the show moving, but the hours slipped by. The Grateful Dead, famous for their long, meandering sets, took the stage before Creedence. Their performance, already known for stretching boundaries, ran hours late. The Dead set became a marathon, filled with technical mishaps and improvisational jams that seemed to have no end. Technical problems plagued the Dead from the start: malfunctioning amps, feedback, and power outages. Roadies hustled under the harsh glare of stage lights, trying to fix issues as the minutes ticked by. The set, meant to be a highlight, stretched deep into the early morning hours. Meanwhile, Creedence Clearwater Revival waited in the wings, their frustration mounting with every passing hour. The anticipation that once fueled them began to fade, replaced by exhaustion and uncertainty. The crowd's energy, once electric, was slowly draining away. By the time Creedence finally took the stage, it was nearly 3 a.m., a time when most festivals would be long over. The night air was heavy, and the field that had once pulsed with life now felt eerily quiet. The once massive audience had dwindled to just a few thousand exhausted souls, scattered across the muddy field. Many sat slumped on the ground, wrapped in blankets, fighting off sleep as the hours dragged on. The field was a graveyard of sleeping bags and huddled forms, festival goers too tired to cheer, some already lost to sleep. The energy that had defined Woodstock was now just a memory, replaced by a quiet determination to see the night through. Backstage, the band faced a difficult choice. Should they play for the few who remained, or walk away from what was supposed to be their moment of triumph? The decision weighed heavily on them, as they considered the long journey that had brought them here. The moment they had dreamed of had slipped away, replaced by fatigue and disappointment. The stage, once a symbol of hope, now felt almost abandoned. John Fogerty looked out at the darkness, feeling the weight of the night and the sting of lost opportunity. Yet, in that quiet, he found a spark of resolve. The show, after all, had to go on. No matter how small the crowd or how late the hour, Creedence Clearwater Revival would play. With determination, they took the stage and played their hearts out for those who remained, turning disappointment into defiance, and making music for the true believers who refused to give up on the night. Fogerty was furious, his band's big moment sabotaged by delays and the Dead's endless set. The night had dragged on, and what was supposed to be a triumphant appearance for Creedence Clearwater Revival was turning into a test of patience. The Grateful Dead's sprawling jams had stretched far past their slot, leaving the crowd restless and the festival schedule in chaos. Fogerty, always a stickler for timing and professionalism, felt the weight of disappointment settle in. Creedence prided themselves on professionalism and punchy crowd-pleasing shows. They were known for tight sets, powerful vocals, and a sound that could electrify any audience. Their reputation was built on delivering every night, no matter the circumstances. For them, every show was a chance to prove themselves, and Woodstock was supposed to be the biggest stage of all. Now, they were playing to a field of sleeping fans, their energy drained. The festival grounds, once buzzing with anticipation, had quieted to a low murmur. Blankets and sleeping bags dotted the grass, and the few who remained awake looked weary, their faces illuminated by the distant stage lights. It was a far cry from the roaring crowd Creedence had imagined. The contrast with the Dead's loose jams was stark. Creedence was all precision and power. Where the Dead meandered, Creedence attacked each song with purpose. Their music was built for impact, not for drifting through the night. The two bands represented different philosophies, and tonight those differences were on full display. The band debated, was it worth playing at all? Some wondered if they should just pack up and leave, rather than perform for a crowd that seemed half asleep. The frustration was palpable, and the sense of letdown hung heavy in the air. But walking away would mean giving up on a moment they'd worked so hard to reach. Fogerty's frustration was real, but so was his resolve. He knew that even if the odds were stacked against them, this was still Woodstock. This was still history in the making. He refused to let circumstances dictate the band's legacy. They hadn't come this far to quit. Each step toward the stage was a reminder of the journey they'd taken, from small clubs to the world's biggest festival. The band drew strength from each other, determined to make the most of whatever audience remained. He rallied his bandmates. We'll play for whoever's awake. It was a simple promise, but it meant everything. No matter how small the crowd, Creedence would give them a show to remember. The band huddled together, finding unity in the face of disappointment. It wouldn't be the coronation they'd hoped for, but it would be a statement. They would show the world, and themselves, that they could rise above setbacks. Sometimes, the true test of a band isn't the size of the crowd, but the heart they bring to the stage. They took the stage, determined to wake the night. The lights hit their faces, and for a moment, the exhaustion faded. The music began, sharp and defiant, cutting through the darkness like a beacon. This was about pride, grit, and refusing to be defeated by circumstance. Every note was a declaration. Creedence Clearwater Revival would not be forgotten, no matter how late the hour or how small the crowd. The crowd was small, but Creedence would give them everything. For those few who stayed awake, the band poured out their energy, playing as if the field was packed to the brim. Sometimes, you play for the few who refuse to sleep, and in those moments, music means even more. At 3 a.m., Creedence Clearwater Revival hit the stage, not to cheers, but to scattered applause. Fogerty's anger fueled the performance. The band played with raw, relentless energy. They tore through Born on the Bayou, Green River commotion. No going through the motions here. Fogerty's voice was a weapon, the rhythm section a machine. Slowly, the music cut through the fatigue. People stirred, rising from sleeping bags. Fogerty called out, "We're just glad to be here," and launched into Bad Moon Rising. The band played nearly an hour, waking the graveyard with Proud Mary and Keep On Chuglin'. By the end, the crowd had swelled. Those who stayed witnessed something special. Creedence had conquered the worst circumstances with sheer force. It was a great show, but its legacy would be shaped by what happened next. Their triumph was about to be erased. Brought back to life.